Hey, and welcome to Glue Wednesday. As you're looking at the broadcast, in most cases, I'm Sporty King. I'll be your host. You've got me shining up my glasses so I can see the notes I wrote, because I wrote a couple of notes that I want to share with you today. As you can see, our topic today is temperament travel tips. Yeah, temperament. And Glue Wednesday, by the way, is GLUE. God's love undoes everything. Just reminding people that though most people say Wednesday is hump day, I believe that Wednesday is the middle of a traditional 7-day week that keeps the middle of the end of the week and the weekend together. So there's no need to hump to get over Wednesday, but there's a need to recognize that Wednesday is the day that keeps us all together. So we want to keep it together rather than worrying about having to hump to get over. Hey, Brenda, and hey, what's up, Father Keegan? Good to see y'all. The broadcast will start in less than 2 minutes, but I do that intro for those who are watching on the broadcast who have never been on Glue Wednesday with me, which takes me back to saying that the glue in my keeping it together is GLUE. God's love undoes everything. A reminder, not that God's love will tear things apart, but those things that have been torn apart in your life, because we will all experience tears and turns in our lives, but God's love will help you get them back together, because your faith and patience will always be one of the greatest salves that you can have in terms of getting your life not just back on track, but on track, because your life will continuously get off track. That's just part of what we do. That's just part of the blessing in the storms that we experience sometimes, and so we have to have that faith to get ourselves back in sync. And we have less than a minute before the actual broadcast of today's topic is. And Father John, I know John Keegan is there, but that was just one of my favorite instructors, teachers when I went to Cranwell High School in Lenox, Massachusetts. In my formative days, I went to a private high school. There's a program still available called ABC. It stands for A Better Chance. It sends inner city kids to private high schools. But I think they've upgraded that to where it's not so much a focus on inner city kids, but sending kids children to private high schools. And they start really looking at that process as early as 7th or 8th grade. So if you've got teenagers or growing teenagers, middle school kids, start looking into the ABC program. It's a great option for them to get a good education at a private high school. Hey, Kenneth, what's happening, homie? Okay, it's 12 o'clock. Let's get started with glue. My topic today is, as you can see in the intro, the so-called things that you can do to make your trip more stress-free, smile-filled, and safe. Emitting positive energy is real. So anyway, you can read that, but my whole point is that a lot of times when we think about traveling, we tend to get in a defensive mode and thinking that the traveling part, things are happening to us. I want to say to you that we can make things happen for us. That's why I call it temperament travel tips. And so I start out with the definition of temperament. And the definition of temperament, I clicked it up there, I forgot to, but it's the characteristic or habitual inclination or mode of emotional response. Instead, in effect, how you respond to things is what you attract. You respond to things that you attract by your demeanor. So it's your characteristic or habitual inclination, which means the things that you tend to do. Your disposition, synonyms, your character, your personality, or your nature. So again, that's why I want you to see that it's you that there's a lot of things that you can do to make your trip even better. And this is both domestic or international, but I also say this can easily be something that you transfer not to just your traveling tips, but to your life tips. So the first one, I call it mental games. Mental games. Think about where you're going to park. Whenever I go to the airport in Charlotte, I always park. And P.S. by the way, fast forward. The reason I do it is so I can remember where my car was when I get back. So especially in your home parking lot, but you can do it as much as possible on the road as well. But I always park on the third level in section D. 3D, which to me, it's easy for me to remember 3D as in, 3D TV or images. And I do that as a kind of a memory of a good friend of mine in Chicago, Cookie Gray, one of my big sisters. Cookie said to me, she used to always joke with me, and she said, Sporty, you are too twisted for color TV. So that used to always be our joke. Hey, fine, what's up, Ho? So that used to always be our joke about how I would appear on color TV, which is 3D. So that's why I always park on level 3D. Now, before I started thinking about doing that based on what Cookie used to tell me, sometimes what I would do is, since we have an east and a west parking lot, depending on the direction that I was traveling in, then I could also park in the direction that I would travel. So if I was traveling east, I'd park in the east lot, and if I was traveling west, I'd park in the west lot. So again, both of those things become mental exercises to jog my memory of where I parked for when I got back. So I could easily say, oh, I went, I'm in Charlotte, and I went to New York. Well, that's going north, but I would consider it going east. Well, let me use a better example. I'm in Charlotte, and I went to California, so I went west. Or Chicago, I went west, so I park in the west lot, but still on level 3D, because that's what I always remember. And then another thing that you can use a letter in your name. So come up with some type of thing that will remind you of where you parked for when you get back. Because isn't that always hilarious how you get back and you go, oh God, where did I park? Well, thanks to technology, you got the little thing that you can blow the horn and find it. But one time, I got to tell you, I was on the wrong level blowing the horn and wondering where my car was because it was on the wrong level totally. So mental games will get you started and making your trip, because you'll start focusing on the good things about your trip. Now, as you leave your car, one of the things I do is I always leave my house keys in the car. So what I do is I have one of those things that you can detach the keys. So I take keep my car key with me, but I leave my house keys in the car, and I'll either put them in the under the seat or in the glove compartment. I do that because if and again, you can use that both when traveling and domestic. If I lose my keys, my car keys, maybe I can still find a way to get in my car and get my keys and at least get in my house. Of course, the real solution to that is have a duplicate set of keys, of car keys on you. And by the way, I did have that happen once where I had actually packed my car keys in my suitcase when I was leaving New York. And I got to Charlotte and I didn't know where my keys was. I couldn't remember that that's where I had left them. So I had to, I took the train and I went home and because, why did for some reason, I got my house keys from my rental office, got into my apartment, got my duplicate set of car keys, and then took a cab back to the airport to drive my car home. Then when I got home and unpacked, I found my keys in my suitcase. So come up with some type of a system you use for where you're going to put your car keys as well as your house keys. But I say, again, leave my house keys in the car, take my car keys with me. I actually don't have a duplicate set of keys because it's the electric thing, and I keep meaning to go and get one. So that is also a key, by the way, as well. All right. Take your parking ticket with you. So many people think that they should put their parking ticket up in the visor or somewhere. Take your parking ticket with you. That takes you back to the old school way of doing things. If someone breaks into your car, if your parking ticket is in there, all they have to do is swipe the car ticket, the parking ticket, and pay and leave. If they steal your car, and like they may jumpstart your car, and then they go through the exit, they have to pay. Number one, they have to pay full price for losing the ticket. But guess what? In the process of paying full price, they also have to show ID. They have to fill out forms to take the car with them. So if they don't have the parking ticket, they have to show ID. They have to pay full price, and then it'll be easier to track your car. If they decide to run through the parking establishment, of course, without paying, then they'll end up taking a picture of the license plate and then maybe they'll be able to put out a bolo, and and your car may be recovered quicker. That hasn't happened a lot, but again, it's just one of those old school things. And again, you can use it in your regular life. Take the parking ticket with you when you leave the car. Do not leave it in the car. Okay? Tip number 4. This is into the airport. Don't sit there while you're waiting for your flight and judge the people who are sitting in the area with you. You're sitting there looking at somebody's outfit. Because and actually this one is not really as much a strategic thing as just a laughing, inspirational thing. Is whoever you're busy judging, they'll end up sitting next to you. That's the only reason I say that. You're sitting there, oh God, look at this outfit. I hope that person doesn't sit next to me. But in the process, what you're doing, what you nurture is what you attract. And in the process of hoping that person doesn't sit next to you, they will definitely be sitting next to you. So don't judge people. Hey, Donnie, don't judge people while you're sitting there waiting for your flight. Also, while you're sitting there waiting for your flight, you know what? If it's a flight delay, why do we get upset about a flight delay? What you have to do, okay, remember we're talking about temperament and what your disposition is in your character. If there's a flight delay, look at some of the things, check out the reasons. First of all, the number one reason is that the airline is interested in, the airport industry is interested in your safety. So the reason there's a delay is because, like for instance, I was just on a delayed flight from New York to Charlotte yesterday, and it was raining, pouring down hard in New York. So therefore, the flight that was going to be connecting to come to New York to take me to Charlotte was delayed in Syracuse, New York, because of the weather in New York. And he announced that once he got there. So he wasn't allowed to come in and land because it was dangerous. And if you were in New York on Tuesday, the 25th, you know how it was pouring, raining in certain spots of the day. So number one, recognize that the flight delay is based on airline safety. And it could be a domino effect of where if one flight was delayed because of safety precautions, that may end up making another flight delay. And then once that flight delay, that may make you miss your connecting flight. And still, as upset as you may get, all of it is in the name of safety. Also, it's human error. There's human error involved. And so like when I talk about the flight delay, yeah, I'm glad I arrived safely too, thank you. When I talk about the mechanical stuff that may go on with a plane being unsafe to fly, that could be human error. Well, maybe they did something that didn't work out on the plane, and they missed in the maintenance, or maybe something happened with the plane that they have to now correct. And the mechanic whose job it is, and I've heard the pilot say this, the mechanic whose job it is to fix that thing is at another terminal fixing it on another plane, or has to get there from that terminal. You're still dealing with human beings, ladies and gentlemen. Be one of them, and again, decide that you're going to relax, because again, what's the number one deal? Safety. They're worried about your safety. And then your reputation. By the way, your life matters. The reason I have reputation as one of the important things for when you're waiting for a flight, if it's delayed and you get bumped. There was a time once when I was in Chicago, and I was flying on a buddy pass, a friend of mine, and most people, after they fly on the buddy pass, swear off flying on buddy passes, because it's great to get a free pass, but definitely the worst time you can do it is during the holidays, because there's so many people traveling, and the buddy pass is what's called a non-revenue ticket. So you are the last person to be given consideration to get on a flight. They find everybody who's on standby, last minute tickets. So what happened, I got bumped from like 3 flights and sent to the next gate. And then I got to a gate where the woman who was the gate attendant was the mother of one of the kids that I had coached in community league basketball. And she remembered me. And I didn't necessarily know her because, I coached for 10 years. I don't know what year this was, but, the parents saw me. And maybe I think I actually had refereed with her son or whatever, but that's what she explained to me. She said, you know what, I really remembered how you did with my son and blah, blah, blah. So she changed, even though I was a non-revenue ticket, she moved me up and I got on the flight. So see, What's going, I always say that life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You need a small, medium, or large piece of every puzzle in your business, family, or social interactions. Yet, no matter what puzzle piece size you see yourself as, without you, the puzzle is incomplete. So always remember that however you see, hey Kwame, however you see yourself, someone else is checking you out. And what you're doing in your personal life, for instance, my friend Dondi is on here and he's a doctor. He, in his personal life, he has to still have the proper demeanor as a professional. Hope is a good friend of mine. Hope is on here, and she's in, in the political arena or child care, where she's helping people with things. So she can't go around being nasty to someone and then expect that she's going to get available resources to help her with her cause. Hey, Zach, and my sister Zatine, ZBK Productions, she promotes parties. She can't go around being nasty to people and then expect people to support her when she has an event. So that's what happened, is because I had been a good person on another part of my life, then the airline front desk person, reservation person said, you know what, I know you to be a good person. Here, let me get you up and move you forward. Thank you, Don. Yeah, your life has to be, consistent. And especially now I'm using other people as examples, but using myself even more as a motivational speaker. Here I'm saying, hey, let's be positive, this and that. And now I leave here or end this broadcast and I'm out cursing people out in public and being nasty, and I don't get to do that. And I always recommend that to people when they talk about wanting to become entrepreneurs. I say, well, one of the first things you have to do is understand what your life is about. Your life is no longer yours. You have to look at those professional athletes. You have to look at those actors and actresses. Their life does not belong to them anymore. Remember in the movie, the second one with Shaft, with Jada Pinkett, where she punched the guy out because he was a sinister character on the soap opera. And then in real life, she decided to punch him out. Well, that's kind of what happened. Who you are in real life, who people see you are in your persona, then they transfer that to who you are in real life. So how about being who you are all the way? And like Zed said, it's your blessings. You've been blessed to have a certain talent. Donnie's a doctor. That's a blessing in terms of his patience with irate patients, because naturally when someone, and not the patients as much as their family, when someone comes to the hospital, their family doesn't understand how they don't get moved, their case doesn't get moved to the front of the line, and you try to explain to them, hey, what's up, Disco? You try to explain to them, hey, this is what's going on. I remember one time when I got stitches, I had fallen in my apartment and punctured my arm, and it was bleeding. And I went to the emergency room, and I sat there for 4 hours waiting for them to stitch me up. Why? Because guess what? Technically, all I had was a cut on my arm, while there were people coming in who may have been shot, people who have had an overdose, a suicide attempt. Mine was on the scale, was not an emergency anymore. It was an emergency to me. So, but again, that's why I'm talking about your temperament. It takes a lot. You've got to really focus on having the right frame of mind as you go through your daily life, because it will boil over into every type of life you have. Your life does not belong to you, right? Be who you are. Oh, that's double-edged, right? Your life doesn't belong to you. Be who you are. You're God's child. Depends on whether you want to use that religiously or inspirationally, but your life is here to transmit a signal to help somebody else get through. And in the process of doing that, it's just like, what do we do? One hand over the other. Once we pull somebody up, someone pulls us up. And, again, that's the puzzle mentality, okay? So that's number 4. Number 5, I always say good morning to the flight attendant when I get on the plane. Why does that make a difference? Who knows? Brighten. They have a tough day. Brighten up the flight attendant's day, and then the next thing you know, you might get better service depending on where you sit. Especially if you're not sitting in first class, and then maybe they'll give you a little better service. And I don't want to ruin stuff for the good treatment that I get on flights. But say good morning to the flight attendant. Tell them something about the way they look. They're people too. Don't treat them as servants and slaves. And if you get a chance, definitely say good morning to the pilot. In fact, I did get a chance to say good morning to the pilot the other day, and I also said to him, "Have a good flight," Because and I told, and then he laughed. He said, I intend to. I said, well, and I told him, I said, look, that's my inside joke, because I have my sister and my friends and family that I usually text when I'm getting ready to get on a flight or to travel at all. So, but especially when I'm getting on a flight, they'll say, hey, Kathy, they'll say, have a good flight. And I always say, I'll tell the pilot, because I'm the passenger. And so, even though when we think about it, this broadcast is about telling you how to have a good flight. But if the pilot has a good flight, everybody has a good flight. So, really, as you think about these tips, recognize that none of these things mean a thing if the pilot doesn't have a good flight. So make sure you think about all of the good things that are happening as a result of you just being able to get on this flight. And then the reason so you think about where you park, how you park, say how you didn't judge the people in the waiting area. You didn't get super upset about the flight delay, because you can't control these things. The main thing we have to understand about stress is that we have to let go of the things that we cannot control. We always say it and we give other people that advice, and then when it's our time to exercise that advice, we don't do it. You have to let go of things that you have no control over. So again, these are some things that you do have control over. Meanwhile, the end part of what I always say to my sister, and then when I let them know I'm getting on a flight, I say, I'll tell the pilot, but I know who my real pilot is. See, that's being who you are. I know my faith is in God, and that's my pilot. So if he has blessed the person who's sitting up there in the cockpit to do his job, then guess what? My flight is going to be fine. And then I've even heard people, getting upset. Oh, okay, wait, that's another tip. So I'm going to go on. So that's 5, and that's 6. Say good morning to the flight. Number 7. Oh, my God. Some of you may be guilty of this, but think about it. If you have a backpack on, when you're walking down the aisle, your backpack can swing and hit people who are sitting down, especially if you drop something and you bend down to pick it up, or you turn to put your luggage in the overhead bin, your backpack is hitting somebody else. So I suggest take your backpack off and carry it down as you walk through the aisles. But, maybe you don't do that, but tell your kids. Tell your young friends, the people who are wearing the backpack, and I'm not saying interfere when you see somebody with the backpack, hey, you need to take that off. I do tend to tap them and say to them, your backpack is swinging, and I have never had someone not appreciate me giving that information. So, just, again, it's your demeanor, it's your character. If you say, hey, damn, your backpack is hitting people, just catch it when it swings and tap them and say, hey, your backpack is swinging. Because a lot of people just don't realize it because the backpack becomes such a part of them. So make sure that your backpack isn't swinging. And then in flight, oh man, this is one of my biggest ones. Y'all, what's wrong with a baby crying? Why are you upset with the baby? Oh my God, that baby cried the whole flight next to me. I couldn't get any sleep. You should have gotten some sleep before you got there. P.S. By the way, come on, y'all, it's a baby. It ain't like we can explain to the baby, excuse me, we're going to be flying and I'm going to need you to not cry. The pressure on the baby's ears could be what's making him cry, him or her cry. They don't, adults, we know what allergies we have or what tendencies we have from growing up about not wanting this and that to happen on a flight. You see people who want to make sure that they take something extra for breathing or air sickness, and they know that from history. The baby, we don't know the baby's history, so we don't know that the baby isn't crying because suddenly his ears. They don't know to swallow hard to make your ears unpop, or hold your nose and just give a light blow. Please don't give a hard blow your eardrums out. But just hold your nose and give a light blow, and you can target which nostril is blowing into which ear to keep it from fogging up. But again, hey, if you happen to be sitting next to the person with the baby, you can ask to have your seat changed. But I don't think that most mothers or parents would be insulted by that. They would understand it. But still, in all for me, I wouldn't care. Because, I'm not getting on the flight to go to sleep. I may need sleep, but the flight is going to be just a couple of hours. You mean to tell me I can't close my eyes and rest? Because you're not going to get a deep sleep. Close your eyes and rest and hear the baby crying. But see, plus I think about it. I grew up in a project where I grew up outside where the train ran all night. So I'm really, one of my hardest adjustments in my years growing up was going to sleep with total silence, because I was used to going to sleep with noise. And especially depending on where you live, and not even, there could potentially be a fire truck going past, because everybody, whether you live in the suburbs or the city, can have fire engines or police cars. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but man, have some compassion for that parent who suddenly is feeling a little embarrassed that their baby is crying. P.S. By the way, which is what babies do. Of course, parents make sure that the diaper's changed and that they've been fed. That, my mother used to always say, let them cry. Their diapers changed, their stomach's full. Let them cry themselves to sleep. But that was when, and the baby sitting in the home. But still, you can prepare your child for flight. You can YouTube find it out. You can ask the airline what you can do to prepare your child for a flight. It's all about being positive. And then I remember one time I was on a flight, and adults, we took off and we hit some rough air. And so the plane is shaking and stuff. And adults are sucking their teeth as if the pilot chose why he goes this way, why he can't control the plane. The kids are cracking up laughing like they're on a roller coaster ride. Come on, adults. Again, the pilot is definitely, we don't have any incidences that I can think of. I've never heard a report of a U.S. airline pilot being a suicide pilot where they wanted to make the flight uncomfortable. Their life is at risk as well, and so they're up there. Hey, Gianni, they're up there trying to make the flight as comfortable as they can. And if they hit some rough air, they usually say, "We're gonna hit some rough pockets. Put your seatbelts." They tell you stuff. Come on, adults. Let's recognize, and okay, in fact, jump into prayer mode when that flight starts shaking. But it's so funny. I'm on the flight and I'm hearing the kids cracking up laughing like they're on a roller coaster ride or in the fun house being shaken, while the adults are sucking their teeth at the bad driving of the pilots. Their demeanor is so important. Two more things, and we're going to be hanging up here. Okay, so after we've had all the preparation to get on the flight, we've said good morning to everybody. We've had our in-flight experience. Now, P.S., by the way, it's your choice about talk. I personally don't choose to talk a lot during flights, to strangers. But I do it based on, I'm usually want to be focused on something I'm doing. And then I had also learned that as a speaker, the flying had the air pressure is not good for your vocal cords. So it's not a good idea to keep talking while I'm speaking, while dealing with the altitude. So I tend to not really do a lot of talking while I'm on a flight. And especially if I'm flying with somebody I know, then I can explain that to them, that I won't be doing a lot of talking. But I've met some wonderful people on the flights, and I usually do, by the way, say good morning or hello to the person that I sit next to. I didn't add that on the list, but that could be a good thing to do as well. All right, and I'm real conscious of the elbow space, especially if you're sitting whether you're sitting, wherever you're sitting. It's kind of funny how you have to realize that you don't have both armrests at your disposal. One of the armrests is yours on the end or the aisle, on the aisle or the window, and then the person in the middle has to figure out which one they want to be their dominant armrest as well. So there's a lot of sharing going on the flight as well. Okay. This is the funniest one to me. When it's time to deplane. Ladies and gentlemen, when the plane lands and pulls into the runway, not the runway, to the station, the airport, it always kills me how the people in the back get up and start moving forward. You can't get out until everybody in front of you deplanes pretty much. Now, I understand if you're in a hurry. I understand if you're in a hurry, you may end up wanting to, get up early and get your stuff down and get as close as you can. But I always laugh. Hey, Denise. Hey, Chris. I laugh at the people who see, you sat in the back and then you want to be the first one off. It's not going to happen. There's a lot. Yeah, why do they stay? I don't know, Zach. I sit there and just wait till I see maybe 3 rows ahead of me start to clear out. Then I start making my move to get up. If I'm in a hurry. if I don't have a connecting flight or if I'm where I need to be, and especially, oh, wait a minute, y'all, especially if you have, no, it's not even especially, it's two ways. If your luggage is checked already, there's no need for you to rush to get off. You cannot get your luggage to the carousels any quicker just because you're down there. Number one. Now, if you haven't checked your luggage, again, what's the rush? My luggage is right here. I can let those people get out of the way because I can't necessarily get where I'm going that much faster with my luggage, as well as hopefully, you know, if it's a connecting flight, and they usually try to plan it enough time in advance for you to be able to make your flight, and your flight is guaranteed on the next seat. Oh, thank you. It was the gate. I couldn't think of it, Johnny. Thanks. Yeah, wait your turn to be played. It's really not a big deal. Which also goes, if we could swing back to the front, there's a seat on the plane for everyone. You don't need to rush to jump the line. Your seat already has a number. Even back in the days, you know, well, actually, I don't know what goes on in Southwest now, but I remember back in the days where, you know, it was first come, first seat. And so, yeah, but, you know, you've got a seat number. You know, so think about that. And P.S., by the way, you know, try to put your luggage near where you sit, or at least one row of where you're going to exit, but not behind you, if possible. I tend to try to put mine, if I don't get it right over my seat, I like to get actually a seat above me, or just one above in front of me, as a way of moving forward. And I never mind helping somebody pass theirs forward. Oh man, there's so much cooperation. Okay, we're down to the end. So be patient as you deplane. And lastly, say thanks to the pilot. These days they try to have the pilots there to say thank you, and they put on the questionnaire, but thank the pilot. You know, don't just walk with, you know, man, thank the pilot. They made it. I'm so glad they had a good flight. You need to keep their spirits up as well. So you said there's a lot you can do to make your flight enjoyable and stress-free. You know, make it a wonderful adventure. And so, again, now I'm comfortably going to, especially if I'm coming home, I know where my car is parked. If I'm visiting someplace, I don't need to know where my car is parked. All I need to know is who to ask and how to find out, how to read the monitors, you know, how to ask people for help. That's why I put on my New York shirt today, because I'm talking about traveling. I just got back from New York, but yeah, you know, so many people, I'm from New York, but I've traveled to, I've only got 8 cities, 8 states in the United States that I haven't visited or passed through. Because if I stop in the airport, I give myself credit for having been there. But so many people don't leave where they grew up. We've got to make sure, shake their hand. Yeah, oh God, yeah, if you can shake their hand, definitely do that, Dondi. Thanks. Yeah, you know, if you can shake their hand, that's even better, because they're used to a lot of people. And now I'm going to add that, Don, because I tend to say thank you to the flight attendants. But sometimes it's because of what I got in my hand, because I try to make sure that I never carry. Yeah, I actually can't, because I've usually got one carry-on in a suitcase, because I try not to have to check luggage. But I'm going to work that in. All right. But yeah, if you can shake their hand, definitely do that. Everybody, y'all, we're all in this world together. Let's let some of the stuff go and find out that we make a difference in somebody's life. You know, my company is called The Top Line, and the top line is how I feel affects other people. You'll see that on my stationery, my website. But think about what I'm saying there. How I feel affects other people. You make a difference in everybody else's day that you have any kind of contact with. So go on and brighten someone else's day up by feeling good about yourself. Because once you feel good about you, it's going to have a domino effect and bring somebody else out of their funk. And that's really all we need to do sometimes, is just get out of that funk. So have some safe flights, go somewhere, travel somewhere. Think about ways that you can, you know, I try to keep this to a half an hour so it won't kill you to relook at it. But think about some ways you can apply that to your regular life. You can definitely apply it to your life when you go into clubs or to the movies, to the restaurants, leaving your keys in the car, making sure, you know, not visible, by the way, and then, you know, taking the parking ticket with you, saying hello to your waitresses and waiters. Don't treat them like slaves. You know, they see them just as the flight attendant. There's somebody they want to serve, and you don't know what's going on. My last point, you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life where they have to have a demeanor of service when they're hurting. You know, something that's going on in their life, but they had to come to work today. And in fact, because of their financial situation, they had to come. They didn't really have that option. And so you can brighten up their day by not treating them as a second-rate individual. And then in the process, that's going to make your day as well. So thank you for making my day by signing in to Glue Wednesday. Please make sure that you share it and pass it on. I also end up loading it to my YouTube page, so you can also, if people aren't on Facebook, you can forward the link to YouTube that people can use it there as well. All right. God bless you. Keep the glue going and keep remembering that God's love undoes everything, and you are part of God's love. That's the glue. Over and out. Ciao.